All right, we're live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Self-Care for Caregivers workshop. My name is Marissa Vogel. I'm the Executive Director of Open Up Pittsburgh, and I'm really excited to share this time in this space with you today as we just spend a little bit of time this morning kind of relaxing and allowing ourselves some time to connect and ground in this community of caregivers. And we are offering this program to you in partnership with our friends at the LEND program, which is, well, I'll let them explain what it is, but it's a really amazing program that I myself was a graduate of 10 years ago. And I'm so excited to still be engaged with this community. And they have some really great offerings and things to share with you. So before we introduce Lend, I just want to let everyone know that you can comment on these live streams that you're watching with any questions or thoughts, and I'll be able to share them with people who are in here. So just now I saw Libby is watching, and she said, so proud of this team, and sent some party popper and cool guy smiley face emojis. So thank you, Libby. So anyone else watching, you can go ahead and comment, and we will get you shared on here. So I'm going to go ahead and let Len kind of take this over.
Thank you, Marissa. So I first off want to thank everyone joining the workshop and watching. We are so excited to kick off a much needed event through Open Up for caregivers. So today we're going to participate in some yoga, mindfulness practice, and then hear from some members of Open Up in a panel discussion and just learn more about what Open Up has to offer. So my name is Julia, and I am a current trainee in the LEND program at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'll be graduating in April with my degree in occupational therapy. So I, along with some of my other colleagues present, are from LEND Pittsburgh. LEND is a collaborative educational training program that includes graduate students, professionals, people with disabilities, and family members of individuals with disabilities. The mission of the LEND program is to educate a new generation of leaders in the field of disabilities and forge partnerships to improve the lives of individuals with disabilities and their families. While in LEND, we have the opportunity to partner up with community organizations whose values align with LEND's mission and vision, one of those being Open Up. So thank you to the Open Up team from us at LEND for welcoming us and collaborating with us to create such a great workshop, and we are so appreciative of you all. And so now I will pass it off to my other LEND colleagues to allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm also part of the LEND team, and I'm a second year doctoral physical therapy student at the University of Pittsburgh.
Hi, my name's April, and I am a family trainee at the LEND program.
Hi everyone, my name's Michael, and I will also be graduating from the University of Pittsburgh in April with my degree in speech language pathology.
Yes, I'll go next. Hello, everybody. My name is Chelsea. I'm a third year clinical psychology doctoral student at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and I will be also graduating in about 2 years.
Thank you so much for everyone from LEND for introducing yourselves and helping to bring this program out to the public. And part of what we focus on in our collaborative efforts here is accessibility. So we are offering this to you on these platforms so that you can take time to rewatch it later on in the week, maybe when you have a little bit more time and you're not dealing with morning activities and kind of getting settled in. But if you are here right now, that's great. Welcome. And like I mentioned, go ahead and let us know if you have any questions or thoughts in the chat. So for the rest of our program, we are going to have some time where Megan will be leading us in practice along with Dory Ortman. They have some really great ways for you to kind of tune in with your body and your mind, and they will be sharing that. And then once they wrap up, we have some caregivers and some family members from the Open Up community that are going to kind of share a little bit about Open Up and their experience with Open Up and why we might want to take time to offer ourselves some self-care and some self-love. So Thank you for joining us, and I'm going to go ahead and let Megan introduce herself. And you might notice that everyone will head off of the screen and while Megan is offering her practice. And then once Megan is towards the end of her practice, Emily will go ahead and wrap up that practice, and then we'll go into a panel discussion.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Sakari. I am the program director at Open Up, and I am going to lead us through a bit of a restorative yoga and mindfulness practice. So if you have a yoga mat, you can roll it out on the floor. You can just make space wherever you are. Also, if you have some pillows or blankets nearby, go ahead and grab something to help make you a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to start out with a little bit of a longer rest. So as you can see, I'm in my living room and I'm just going to grab some cushions, some pillows from my couch to use. So go ahead and grab those if you'd like. And we're going to begin by getting comfortable in your body, whether that means lying down or sitting down, whatever feels right to you today, whatever your body is kind of nudging you to do, go ahead and start there. I'm going to lie down. You can cover yourself up with a blanket if you like. You can allow your legs to be long on your mat or bend them. Again, this is time to take care of yourself. So whatever feels good to you is what you should choose to do. And let's just begin by noticing our breath. Notice the air coming in and out of your nose or your mouth. I would imagine most of you are in Pittsburgh, so if nose breathing isn't 100% accessible to you today, that's absolutely fine. Just notice what happens when you inhale and what happens as you exhale. Notice the length of your breath. Notice how that breath is feeling. Maybe each breath is smooth and steady, or maybe you're breathing a little faster, or your breath feels sticky at some points. We don't need to change any of these things. We're just noticing. Bring your attention to your body. How is your body feeling today? Do you feel rested or energetic or tired? None of these things is wrong. It's all just feedback. Notice how you're feeling in your mind. Are your thoughts jumping around all over the place? Or are they relaxed? Are you focused on one thing? Like maybe what's for lunch or something on the to-do list? Go ahead and bring your attention back to your breath. And we're going to practice a breath called anchor breathing. And what it is just a 4-count breath in and a 4-count breath out. So I'm going to talk through what this will sound like first, and then we can practice it all together. So no matter how you choose to breathe, in through the nose, out through the mouth, in and out through the mouth, in and out through the nose, it doesn't matter, but we're going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 3, 2, 1. Let's try that all together. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 3, 2, 1. Continue breathing at this pace on your own. You can count your own breath. You don't have to count the same way that I did. I know it was a little confusing. I only counted 3, but it's 4 counts. But try this on your own for about 4 or 5 more rounds of breath. As you finish up those rounds of breath, go ahead and take another moment to notice how you're feeling in your body. Maybe it's the same, maybe things have changed. Notice how you're feeling in your mind. And then we're going to move for a little bit. So let's all make our way to a seated position. You can keep those pillows and comfy props nearby. We'll come back to those at the end of this practice. So we'll start in a cross-legged seat, if that's a good seat for you. If not, your legs can be however you like them to be. And we'll just begin by inhaling, reaching the arms up overhead. Exhaling, hinging forward at the hips, reaching those fingertips out in front of you. Looking down at your lap or your feet or the mat. Taking a breath in and a breath out. Let's do that again. Inhale, slowly reaching the arms high overhead. Exhale, hinging forward, reaching those hands out in front of you, walking those fingertips away. Looking down at the mat, taking a breath in and a breath out. Go ahead and walk those hands back toward your body. And if it feels okay, we're going to make our way to our hands and knees. You can also try this movement in a seated position if you don't feel like being on your hands and knees. So I'll demo it from hands and knees first, and then I'll show you from a seat. But we're going to be moving through cow and cat. So on an inhale, drop your belly, reach your heart forward, tilt your chin up and your tailbone up slightly. And then as you exhale, reverse. Tuck the tailbone under, round through the spine like a scared cat. Tuck your chin to your chest. Inhale, drop the belly. Lift the tailbone, reach the chest forward. Exhale, round through your spine. Cat. If you're on your hands and knees, go ahead and continue moving. Inhaling, dropping the belly, reaching the heart forward. Exhaling, rounding through the spine. If you're in a seat, let's place our hands on our knees or our lap. Inhale, reaching the chest forward, hinging at the hips, lifting the chin slightly. Exhale, rounding through the spine, tucking the chin to the chest. Move through a couple of these with your own breath. One more, wherever you are. Come to a neutral spine, tall seat, or hands and knees. And from here, if you are able, let's all make our way to our hands and knees. And we'll step forward with our left foot and just hold here for a moment. Notice where we feel our body stretching. This might not be the most comfortable position for you, but sometimes it can be good to stay in a moment of discomfort as long as we're not in pain. On an inhale, lift your torso up, crown of the head toward the ceiling, arms extend up toward the ceiling. Exhale, hands come right back down to the floor. Go ahead and spin the left leg around so that we're in tabletop, hands and knees. And we'll try it on the other side. Stepping the right foot forward and holding in this low lunge position. If you'd like a little extra work, you can tuck the back toe under and lift up in the back knee. Noticing if this side feels any differently from the other. Inhale, lift the chest, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hands come right back down to the floor. Spin the right leg around, hands and knees, tabletop. Send the hips back toward the heels. Lower the elbows to the ground. And if you want to, you can bring your forehead all the way down to the mat. You can grab that pillow and stick it underneath your forehead. You can also create a little stack with your wrists to rest your forehead on. And just focus on your breath. Allow that stretch in the hips sink in. How about one more breath in and one more breath out. Carefully making your way back up to hands and knees, tabletop. And from here, we'll stand up. However you like to stand up. Looks like I need to adjust my camera. It's okay, you don't need to see my head anyway. Nothing important happening there. Let's inhale, reach our arms all the way overhead. As we exhale, hinge forward at the hips and reach toward the toes. Pausing for a moment in this bent over position. Maybe you rock your hips a little side to side, or you can allow your head and your arms to dangle, feeling the stretch down the back of the legs. Bring your hands to your shins. Inhale, lift up halfway so that your back is nice and long. Exhale, fold forward, reaching toward the floor. Bringing the hands all the way down to the floor, bending the knees to help us get there. And then coming back down to hands and knees, tabletop. Inhale, drop the belly, reach the chest forward, lift the tailbone. Exhale, round through the spine, pressing the shoulder blades up toward the ceiling, tucking the chin. Inhale, flat back, tabletop. If you'd like to join me, I'm going to move into downward dog. You can also stay in this hands and knees position or back in child's pose where we were a moment earlier. If you'd like to try down dog, tuck the back toes under, lift the knees and the hips up off the floor. pressing the hips up toward the ceiling, and then looking back toward the feet if possible, checking in with your breath, trying to even out those inhales and exhales. One more breath in, one more breath out. Carefully come back down to hands and knees. And now we'll lower ourselves all the way down onto our bellies. Carefully with control, however you need to get there. One hand at either side of the chest. And on an inhale, lift up through the chest and the chin. It can be a little lift or a big lift, whatever feels right in your body. Exhale, lower all the way down to the mat. Let's try that again. Inhale, lift the chest. Reach the heart forward. Exhale, lower down to the mat. Take a moment and then make your way back to hands and knees, tabletop. From here, we'll stand up. Inhale, reaching the arms high overhead. Exhale, bring the hands together in front of the heart. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. You can release those hands, shake it out. We're going to do another rest in a moment, but let's take a quick side bend to either side. So interlace your fingers, reach your palms away from you, and then lift them up toward the ceiling. Inhale a little taller. Exhale, bend slightly to the left. Inhale, reach high overhead. Exhale, bend to the other side. One more time on each side. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, side bend. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, side bend. Inhale, reach up. Release those hands. Maybe roll out those wrists and the shoulders. And then go ahead and set yourself up for a little more rest. So coming down, if you have pillows and blankets, just getting comfortable. Bringing your attention to your breath. Notice how those inhales and exhales feel. Maybe you have a little more space for breathing after that, a little bit of stretching and movement. Maybe you're still feeling a little bit sticky or shallow in your breath. Take a moment to notice how you're feeling in your body. Take a moment to notice how you're feeling in your mind. I invite you to close your eyes. And for the next minute, we'll just relax and see if we can imagine our bodies sinking into the floor, just melting down through the floorboards. No need to hold ourselves in any certain way, releasing all control to relax. Slowly bring your attention back to your breath. Back to your body on the mat. Feel the spots on your body that feel connected with the floor or the mat. Feeling that mat and floor support you, hold you up. Maybe find a little movement in your fingers and toes. And then as you are ready, we'll all meet in a seated position. However you'd like to get there. Sometimes I like to roll over onto one side. Take a moment before I press myself up to a seat. And then we'll just take one last breath in and out all together. And then Emily will lead us in a chant this morning. So if you'll bring your hands together in front of your heart, we'll all take a full breath in and a full breath out. Thanks, everybody. So now we have Emily here and her mom, Dory, who's going to speak a little later, but they're going to lead us in a chant.
Thank you, Megan. Emily's asked me to sort of preface her chant just with some information about it. So the chant that Emily will be leading taps into the energy of the sun, moon, and earth. And it is Emily's favorite chant. I know. It consists of 8 basic sounds. Ra is sun, Ma, moon, Da, earth, Sa, openness, Se is one's personal experience of a higher power or infinity, and translates to thou. And then So and Hung together mean I am thou. And so it helps us center ourselves. And Emily invites you to be in a comfortable position, close your eyes. And as we prepare to do each sound, inhale deeply and then release the sound on your exhale, and to focus on the energy all around us. And with that, I'm going to attempt to change the camera. Oh, and look at that, I did it. And I'm going to turn it over to Emily.
Please, with me.
Please chant with me. That's right.
Now. Now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. And I'm so silly I did not introduce you. So Emily Ortman took a yoga teacher training with us. So she worked super hard for 200 hours of her life to become a certified yoga teacher so that she can continue to share her yoga and what she loves about it with everybody else. So we're so grateful to have her here for this chant. And we're so grateful to have her on board as a yoga teacher and in the world teaching what she loves. So thank you so much, Emily. That was wonderful.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Megan. Excuse me. I am just adding everyone back onto our screen here. So thank you for your patience. We are offering this today to caregivers specifically, or with caregivers centered. I think, a lot of people can benefit from these practices and movement and mindfulness. And it's important for us to, here at Open Up, to kind of show and model how these practices can be accessible to people in all different kinds of spaces and in all different times of their lives. And, when people are thinking about caregivers and caregiving, there are some really specific needs and specific things that that caregivers kind of need in their life, and we need to give a little bit more time and a little bit more practice to offering that. So I myself am not currently a caregiver, although in my heart I believe that we're all caregivers, even just in holding a door open for a neighbor or checking in with a friend. We all have that role in our lives, but it is really a different, a unique experience for people who are have somebody with a disability in their life, or somebody who maybe has high medical needs, or just something that you might not have experienced personally. So part of today is to offer practices for people in those spaces to find rest and relaxation, but it's also to introduce you all to each other and to build a community that is supportive of caregivers and understanding of caregivers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Megan, who I know is going to chat a little bit with Dory Ortman, who is also involved with the LEND program and is also a friend of Open Up and has come through our yoga teacher training, and Jen Ivashavik, who is one of our founding board members and is a parent of a lovely young man, Luke, who is living with a disability. And I also invite April, who is a member of the LEND team, to share perspective if she is interested. So Megan, thank you for facilitating this part of things.
Sure. So I think it would be best for Dory and Jen and April, if you'd like, to just share a little bit about yourselves and, what you do in general, but how you are a caregiver, what that looks like for you. And then we will go through some questions regarding that. So why don't, Jen, do you want to go ahead and start?
Okay. Hi, I'm Jen Ivashavik, and my son is Luke. He's 19, and I live at home. He lives at home with us, with my husband, Nick, and we have another son, Ben, who's 17. And Luke lives with autism. He also has cerebral palsy and epilepsy. So he's got a nice little trifecta going on with him, which is takes up a lot of our energy. He goes to Sunrise School in Monroeville, and we're in the Fox Chapel School District. He did go to Fox Chapel for kindergarten, and that was it. Then he moved to the Children's Institute, and now he's at Sunrise. We have a home health care aide that comes 4 days a week after school. She stays till about 6 o'clock, so she's very helpful with us as well. And that's just a basic introduction, I guess. Is that what you wanted, Megan? Okay.
Yeah, that was great. Thank
right.
you. A little bit of background is helpful so that we can get to know you a little bit better. Okay. How about Dory?
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you all here. So I'm Dory Ortman. I am Emily's mother, whom you just met, I guess, in the chant portion of this program. She is 21 years old and she has Down syndrome. She has had some medical issues. She had open heart surgery. She's had 9 surgeries on her ears, dental surgery. So she's had lots of surgeries through her 21 years. I also have a 26-year-old son who has autism and anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder. So That's my life. They both attended our local public school, Hampton district we're in, very close to Fox Chapel. um, they did attend throughout their entire school careers. So we're thankful for that. Both graduated. Joe, my son, went on to the University of Pittsburgh with some supports and graduated with a degree in psychology. And he has now been working with young children with autism. That was something he was really passionate about, that he sort of wanted to give back because he's had so much support over the years from different providers and the community. And so he really wanted to give that back. So he's working with younger kids with autism. We're very proud of him. Emily attended Hampton through the age of 21, which children with individualized education plans are entitled to do. She really wasn't sure what she wanted to do after that. And then we were so happy to discover Open Up through our yoga practice. Emily and I had already been a member of a local gym, which we still are. But we found Open Up and took some classes there. And then lo and behold, they had a teacher's training that they were so welcoming and accepting of Emily, and as they do others with disabilities. And she absolutely fell in love with that. And yeah, she did work really hard, like Megan said, for 200 hours. And has since become a yoga instructor. So she is thrilled with that. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that for our basics.
Thank you, Dory. April, would you like to jump in on this conversation?
Sure. I'm April, and I am the mom of Haley. Sorry for the echo. Haley is 12 years old, spicy, lots of personality, which also could be framed as attitude. She has multiple disabilities and tons of personality. We've attended a few events with Open Up, and I love that they can make them things that she can do because she is in a powered wheelchair and has some limited mobility. So it's nice that she can participate in a wide variety of activities. I just think as a parent, I didn't realize enough when she was younger the importance of self-care. I would just keep going and going and going. So I love that we're having this series because if yoga isn't your thing or chanting, find what your thing is, because self-care is what's going to get you through. Your family member, loved one, they depend on you. So just figure it out, and thank you. That's all.
Thanks, April.
Thank you all for sharing that with us. And I just wanted to mention we do have some viewers who are commenting here from our YouTube and Facebook pages. So if you are, I'm going to also invite anybody else who's on this call, because I know we do have some other caregivers and family members on this call. So if anybody else wants to share a little bit about their experience being a caregiver, if you're in this space that we're meeting in live right now in this panel, or if you are on social media, you can comment and I can share your story here. A really important part, we feel an important part of this is seeing each other and kind of humanizing our experiences and exploring these different practices together and learning from one another. It's really important to just be honest and transparent with one another so that we can best support each other and best support ourselves. So I do see a few questions from Jen, who's watching, not you, Jen, that's on the call here, but Jen, who's watching on YouTube. And I'll get to those questions. I think they're specific for Dory about what gyms you're going to and things like that. So we'll get back to that in just a moment. But if anybody else on the call within this space wants to introduce themselves as a caregiver, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, so let's move forward with some questions. And again, like Marissa said, I think we all kind of have the role of caregiver a little bit in some ways in our lives. And I'm not personally a caregiver, but I am a sibling to disability. And I really believe through watching my sister grow up that she has autism, that self-care is so important because burnout is very real. Like Jen said, her son takes up a lot of the energy of their entire family. So you really have to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of others. So my first question is, well, what do you find the most challenging part in your role as a caregiver? If you can pin it down to one thing, you don't have to, but yeah, and whoever would like to go first, April has her hand up.
I just think for me, the hardest thing was finding the time, but I had to create time. Even if I couldn't get a chunk of half an hour, take those 5 minutes, go in the basement, stretch, hop on the treadmill. So I think you just have to create, make it a priority.
That's helpful advice. Thanks, April. Dory?
Sure. First of all, I wanted to mention, Megan, when you said you're not a caregiver, you're a sibling. I think that really does make you a caregiver, just because in translating that to my situation, if I didn't have my older son helping out with Emily so much, I don't know what I would do, because he helps me with self-care by helping with her. So she requires a little bit more attention than he does. So I do think you're a caregiver as a sibling. But as far as challenges, yeah, I definitely agree with April, just sort of creating that time and that space, which is so difficult, so challenging. One of my biggest, I guess, challenges is more fear, that I'm always concerned for Emily's safety. And so in any situation that, I'm going to be practicing self-care, like on my own away from the home, I'm just always concerned for her safety, where she's at, what she's doing, who she's with. And that's a big issue for us. And yeah, I mean, I think it's an issue for all caregivers, because statistics show that, our individuals with disabilities have higher incidences of a lot of different things. And so I just think that is a big challenge. But when you have the right supports in place, and sometimes that takes a while, but you can get them in place. And I think I'll be able to talk more about that in a minute. But yeah, I'll just leave it as, like, her safety especially is a big challenge and concern for me.
Thanks, Dory. Jen, what do you find most challenging?
Well, I'll try to think of something different to say than the other two, because I agree with the other two. I think finding help is difficult. It's not like I can just go on a babysitter website and see if somebody can come over and sit with Luke for a few hours so that, we can go and have a quiet dinner, or even just grab something quick to eat outside of the house. So, that's difficult. And since Luke turned 18, there's also a whole new set of issues that come up. It's a lot easier to find help, opportunities, supports, help through the system when they're under 18. Once they turn 18, your opportunities dramatically decrease. So navigating the system is also very challenging. So
I'm so glad that you said that, because systems navigation is absolutely another huge challenge. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but when he turns 21, you're going to go through a whole other loss of systems. And change in systems, because that's sort of a magic number with our kids too. And then again at 26, when they have to come off of parental insurance and things like that, they're allowed to stay on, private parental insurance until 26. And so, yeah, it seems like it's always changing. Things are always evolving. We lose services. We have to get used to new services. Some of those are non-existent. There's so much around systems. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Thank you for sharing. So, what types of self-care practices do you incorporate in your lives, and how are you able to manage consistency around these practices?
I was going to just jump in, and one of the things that I do and consider self-care is journaling. It helps me. It doesn't take long to journal. I bring my notebook pretty much wherever I go. I love different colored pens. So even if I have 2 minutes, I can sit down, get some stickers, and write how I feel, and that makes me feel better. So that's what I consider my self-care.
Thank you.
I love that, April. That's such a great idea. I love, especially you can bring it everywhere you are. So if you're having, one of those caregiver moments that we all are familiar with, like in a restaurant or, somewhere out in public, and maybe you just need to duck into the restroom and write in your journal just to get that stress out. That I think that's a really great idea. She's showing us her journal now. Um, for me, I feel like when my kids were little, and especially having both of them, we actually had Emily before Joe was diagnosed with autism. So we were sort of firmly planted in the Down syndrome world and then got the diagnosis of autism for Joe. So I feel like I sort of lost myself a little bit when they were younger. And I know a lot of caregivers feel that way. You're just going through so many stressors. But then as they got older and I definitely became more aware of the need for self-care, it was for me sort of finding out what gives me that release. And for me, it's definitely physical activity. So going to the gym. I am an avid hiker and I bike, pedal bike, kayak. So getting outdoors into nature is just a really important part of my life for self-care. As far as the consistency part, I'm not real good with that. I mean, it's really hard to be consistent, but like April had said, you have to carve out that time and make that time and make that space. So I try to use weekends as sort of my time because then I know Emily is with her dad and she's safe and well taken care of. And so I spend a lot of time on the weekends, like doing my activities. So that's how I try to be consistent, at least.
Thank you, Dory. Jen, what about you?
So I am not a journaler. I never have been. I kind of wish I was, but I can't do it for some reason. But I'm more of a physical activity person as well. I work out every single day, and I do it early in the morning. And I leave, go to the gym, and get back before anybody is awake. So that's how I found my time, is that everyone is still asleep. But it helps me because it gives me energy for the day and can focus a little bit better. But I'm lucky because I have my husband here and my other son here, and my parents occasionally come in as well to, be here when I need to get out of the house and go work out. And if I don't do it, I can't function in the day. To keep it consistent, I just got myself certified to be an instructor, and now I have to go. So I have no excuse. I have to be there because people are counting on me there. And those are people who also need some self-care. So it's sort of a motivator to get me to go. And that's how I do it.
Thank you for sharing, everyone. And we did have a comment pop up from YouTube, I believe. Jennifer is watching, and she has a 23-month-old daughter living with an epileptic disorder. So thanks for chiming in, Jen. If you have anything further to share, feel free to pop that in the chat as well. And then I do have one more question. So we've talked about how important it is to get help. It's not easy, it's very hard to do. But so it essentially takes a community to come together to raise any child, I would say, but specifically people living with disabilities. So, what's important to you in a community setting as a caregiver, as a parent of a child?
I'm happy. Oh, go ahead, April. We'll just keep our.
No, sorry. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say accessibility. As Haley gets bigger and older, I need things to be accessible. I need them to not be so loud. Just some understanding. Assume confidence. Talk to her. She can shake her head yes or no. So just welcoming, inviting space. That's what's most important.
Thank you, April.
Absolutely. I agree on all of those important topics. The one thing I wanted to say about like community settings is that, when we think of self-care, a lot of people, and I know, I am also a professional in the field of disability. I went back to school actually after Emily was born, and I've been working with families now for 20 years, I guess. But a lot of people, a lot of families come, wanting respite care, looking for respite care. If anyone's not familiar with that word, it's basically to give respite to the caregivers, to give them a break, to give them time to themselves. And there used to be, years and years ago, respite funding, and caregivers who provided respite, and that was their jobs and things like that. But as we all know, just with how things change and systems change and economy changes, that type of respite care where people were available to caregivers has not been available here locally for a number of years. So one thing that I like to talk about is sort of reframing our minds on that and really looking at those community settings as a form of respite. Um, I chose to spend my energy and my time in sort of finding places that I found accepting, that Emily found accepting, that she was comfortable in. I was more than happy to educate whoever was running the programs, the community settings that we would go. So, whether it was her little dance classes when she was little, or gymnastics, or later on when she would go to cheer practice, she was a cheerleader, or VBS, Vacation Bible School, things like that. When we could find community settings and sometimes educate community settings on how to communicate with her and any safety issues and things like that, that provided respite for me, that I then became able to, trust bringing her somewhere. And I knew that she would be safe. And, and it didn't come without, some challenges, because her communication is difficult. Um, but that's how I chose to sort of look at respite, was to try to identify those community settings that were open to her. Like Open Up is definitely one of those. But she had many through the years, and all of the words that April just used, acceptance and welcoming and just the environment itself, and all of those things are so important. But I also think it's really important that we do, because I don't think things are going to change with respite care being available. And so I think it's time for sort of a mind shift on that, and for community settings to be thinking more like that too, how they can be a part. I mean, if that's something that they claim, that they are welcoming and things like that, then I think that community settings also need to shift their thinking in that, how can we be a part of respite care for caregivers, basically, by, if you're going to be welcoming to people with disabilities, then you have to think holistically of the family, and that is something that you can be doing, is by making it welcoming. You're providing really important self-care time and respite time for the caregivers.
Thank you, Dory. Jen, do you have anything to add?
Just real briefly, because Luke has multiple disabilities, safety is definitely the most important thing in the community setting for us. And it not only mentally safe, but physically safe for him. So, again, we do have to tailor where we're going with him and make sure that, it's somewhere he's able to go. And really, he's able to walk. He's not in a wheelchair or have any physical supports, but he doesn't walk well. So, he can't go hiking. He can't, the uneven ground is difficult. But as long as, we're somewhere in a community that is accessible to him, that's the important part for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. These are very important things to talk about, and lots of helpful tips have come up from this conversation, although I think we need to have 200 more of these conversations to really get in there and dig in. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your sharing. And Marissa, did any other questions come in?
Yeah, so I don't see any questions at this moment, but we do have a few more minutes here. So while we get ready to wrap up, please go ahead. If there's any story you want to share, or any questions that you have, you can comment in the chat here. And if you're not watching this in live time, you can always reach out to Open Up on our website. It's openuppittsburgh.com. If you're watching this, you're probably on one of our channels, our Twitter, social media, on our YouTube or Facebook. So you can also comment there and we'll see you and we'll get back to you if you want to know about any virtual programming that we offer to kind of talk more about these supports and practice these supports. And we would be really excited to try and help you find something that you connect with, even if journaling's not for you or hiking's not for you. We're happy to try and work with you to find something that does work. And before we close out, I really do want to thank everyone for being here. And I want to acknowledge that something that I kind of, a running theme that came across here was community building and support and honesty and transparency and just kind of thinking about who you are and what you need and those kinds of things. And I don't want to leave here without acknowledging that we have a soon to be graduating class of future care providers and professionals in a bunch of different fields. And even as a community organization, we work very closely. We work hard to provide these opportunities for self-care and practices, but we ourselves work very closely with professionals in speech language pathology, in physical therapy, occupational therapy. Part of our commitment as an organization is to be aware of these systems of care and try and navigate them alongside with the people that we serve, or navigate them so we can better serve people. So I want to give our last few moments over to the LEN team. If you all have anything to add from your professional lenses as care providers in these different settings, like we'd love to know anything that you want to offer or share. It can be a little snippet of advice, or it can be a story, whatever you want.
I'll share something really quickly, is that I felt like it's always been very helpful to encourage your caregivers of your patients or clients to pursue advocacy with you. Don't ever close that door that's tell me what works best for you, because as a parent or a caregiver, you know what's best. And so to open that communication from the beginning, I feel creates a really great environment and community just between the patient healthcare provider relationship. So that's something I always try to do and instill in other people. So yeah.
Marissa, you're on mute.
Thanks, Megan. And thank you for your support there, Megan. Yes, if anyone else has anything to add, even if you're in this conversation and you don't want to share out loud, go ahead and pop it in the chat. I'm just going to share that we did get some people who said they're very proud to be part of the communities that we have here. And they said, nice work, everyone. Thank you for sharing. I also, we have a question, Dory. Would you share the gym you go to, or if you have any suggestions other than Open Up? Everyone, we do have movement and mindfulness and yoga classes in a studio and online, so you're always welcome to come to ours. But Dory, you'd mentioned a gym that you found supportive and that you like to go to. Is that something that you'd be willing to share, or any other gyms that you've come across or workout spaces that might be welcoming for people with disabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess I'm just lucky this is our local gym. And again, if, I've had a lot of doors closed on me through the years with my kids. They're 26 and 21. So we've had a whole lifetime now for them. And I've had a lot of doors closed and I don't mean that literally closed in my face, but just, well, we can't handle that here. There's a place for that, down the street or whatever. Caregivers tend to hear that quite a bit. But again, I always looked at it as how can I use that as an educational time? If the establishment is willing to, listen and meet with me and talk with me about how it might work. And I've done that a lot through the years too. And so I'm really happy that so many community places are willing to talk to you. So if someone initially tells you that, I would say just try to take that as a foot in the door at least, and then if they're willing to talk to you more about it. As far as my gym, it literally is just our local gym. It's called New Age Fitness. It's not a big chain. It's just a single, local gym. But they've been very welcoming with us as long as, or not as long as well as some other families I know who have children with disabilities. Emily and I joined together. She goes with me sometimes. I take some classes myself. I take boxing classes. She hasn't done that with me because I didn't think that she would like it, but she actually just did. There's a new boxing program for children with Down syndrome. So anyone out there that might have a child with Down syndrome, there is a new boxing program coming to the area. But yeah, New Age Fitness is the gym. It's not so much that they're they're very small. It's not like they're a big gym that is welcoming to everyone, like Open Up. I wanted to just say, if anyone wants to talk to me after this, you can find me through Lend Pittsburgh as well. And good job to the Lend team, by the way. But I'm always happy to talk to caregivers, families, about anything. I work in advocacy, so always feel free to reach out to me. And then just one more plug for Open Up. Emily and I teach some classes together, partner yoga, and I would love for caregivers and their child that they are caring for to come to a class with us. We're always happy to work with you. We know what it's like, and so we are welcoming to all. And then Emily teaches some classes herself as well. And we would love for any of you to do those, as well as all of the classes that Open Up. They would be my number one welcoming community setting in any situation if I were asked. So I hope that at least answers though.
Thanks so much, Dory. And I'm working on getting a survey for people who are watching. If you're interested in programming, whether it be virtual or in person, that's caregiver focused. I'm going to be leaving this with a comment around that. So you can click on our survey and let us know more. And I do want to just really bring home the point that we're here to share resources, even if it's not something around like mindfulness or self-care. If anything here connected with you, or, if you have any questions, like the purpose of community, part of self-care is asking for help and is asking for support and kind of learning about what you need and what's around you. So that is part of it. It doesn't have to be breath work. It doesn't have to be movement. We're happy to share those resources and connect you with those. And I did see that we got a suggestion for a future conversation here around the idea of the male role as caregiver, or people who identify as male. We do see a lot of female caregivers, both in our in programs that we have in person and also like our virtual programming. We do have a lot of caregivers who identify as female. And, but we also, I want to say it Open Up with all of our classes, we offer the opportunity for anyone who's signing up for a class to sign up with a caregiver, a friend, an ally. So, we do at Open Up as well. We see a lot of times where we have males coming to class with, or dads or, friends or brothers who are actually coming to support somebody in a class or to join in a class with someone. So I do think that's a really interesting topic for conversation. And if you have any feedback like that, or you want to know any more about our programming or suggest any programming or any more of these future panel discussions, you can go ahead and take our survey, which I just put in our comments on here, and you can follow along Open Up. We have a weekly newsletter. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, anything you can imagine, we have it, and we're happy to connect you further. So thank you everyone for joining. And if anyone has any closing thoughts, now's the time. Go ahead and unmute yourselves, but otherwise we're going to go ahead and sign off. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and give yourself a little time to breathe and connect with someone. All right. Have a good day.
Thanks, Marissa. Megan.
Thanks, everyone.